the channel I use for my hashtag. So I just posted a link to the presentation. So in case you want to grab that, go ahead. You can kind of follow along or add some notes if you want to. So is everybody ready? All right. So what this is, what this presentation, as the title has said, is using social networking to reconnect teachers and students. In particular, we're going to look at Facebook groups, and I'm going to show you my successes that I've had with Facebook, and I'm going to show you some of the issues that I've had with using Facebook in the classroom. I think using Facebook is kind of a touchy subject in some school districts, but I've had a tremendous amount of success. Tremendous amount of success. Don't quote me on that one. With using it inside the classroom. Okay. So might as well get going. So first of all, who am I? I guess it's kind of an existential question. I am from Pittsburgh, Michigan, so I'm down here. I went to Jackson Community College, then went to Siena Heights, double majored in history and social studies, and I'm now taking my master's for the Educational Technology Program here at MSU. If you need to know anything about the Educational Technology Program, that lady is the person to see. I think there's a couple other students here who are also involved in it. It's an exceptional program, and I absolutely love it. I am kind of being forced to wear this shirt today to represent the school. I'm sorry, I'm a big Michigan fan. You can boo me if you'd like, that's fine. But I do really enjoy the Educational Technology Program, and I would recommend to any individual who is really interested in the subject. Okay. So who are you? Teachers. Who we got? Teachers? Sweet. Okay, teachers. Administration. Okay, one administrator. Parapros, special ed. Okay. Okay. This presentation is geared mostly for teachers. However, you can use the same basic principles, the same concepts. You can apply it from the district level and the administration level. Okay. So the history of this project, or how I got started with this. This is my third year teaching. In my second year of teaching, I created a Facebook page. I kind of created the shell of it. And I was too busy, worried about curriculum and content and after-school activities that I never really got into it too much. However, after the Educational Technology Program here, we used a Facebook group for our class, and it was amazing. The ability to connect with people outside the classroom to share ideas with same personalities was amazing. And so I took that concept of what we did in the Educational Technology Program, and I extended it into my classroom. Okay? So we had a project that was called the Wicked Prom Project, which I absolutely hated in the beginning, but at the end I loved it because it really was something that I could apply to my classroom. A lot of times in schoolwork, we do schoolwork just to do it, but we don't apply it whatsoever. And so this was a good project. And so what we had to do is we had to find a project or an issue within inside of our school districts, and we had to solve it using technology. Okay? And so I did this, and I want to do something with social networking because I always saw this disengagement between teachers and students. Okay? There was no relationship among the two. And I was trying to think of something of how to reconnect teachers and students back together, to get on the same level, to get them excited about school. And I thought, well, let's try using Facebook. Okay? The goal of the project was, again, to connect the teachers and students back together to create another type of relationship. But my end result, my other goal was to try to get other teachers on board to be using social networking within their classrooms as well. Okay? And so we're going to see in the end if that was successful or not. Okay? And so when I do stuff as a teacher, I always put myself in the shoes of the student. What does the student want? What would get the student engaged? And I think using Facebook is definitely going to help the student become more engaged. Okay? And we're going to see how we're going to use that here in a second. Okay? So, why use Facebook? All right? When I first started the project, I looked at Google Docs, I looked at Twitter, I looked at EduChat, I looked at Facebook, and I thought, of those, why should I use Facebook? Well, I pulled out my iPhone 5 and I asked Siri, how many active users are on Facebook? 1 billion. That is an extraordinary number. All right? How many people here have Facebook? Okay? How many people's Facebook are linked to your phones? All All right? So when I post something, where's that going to? That's going to the student's phone. So they're automatically there. So instead of having a own personal website like Weebly or my own Google site that they're probably never going to go to, when I post something on Facebook, it instantly goes right to their phone. And so they're automatically notified of everything that I'm doing in the classroom. Okay, so it's instant access. Though some of them hate the notifications, at least they're seeing it. At least they're knowledgeable about it. Okay? In terms of administration and school policy, the school that I work at is a K-12 building of roughly 600 kids. We really don't have any type of policy set up in terms of limiting teachers not being able to have a Facebook page, the connection between teacher and student on Facebook. I know some districts are very, very tough about that, very, very strict. Our administrator is 100% behind teachers using technology effectively in the classroom, and he pushes us to kind of meet that goal. All right? So I told him about it in the summer. I said, hey, I'm going to try something during the school year. You cool with it? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Let me know how it goes. So this project might be a little bit difficult for some of you in terms of what your administrators or what your handbook has set up in terms of using Facebook in the classroom. But in my situation, I have free reign to do whatever I want. Okay? And that really helps me, do whatever I want. I'm not limited. I'm not set within this box or these boundaries. I can just roll with it. I see what works, I see what doesn't work, and I can continue to grow upon that. All right? So, just the creation of how I did this, and I'm just going to bring up my own Facebook page here, and I'm just going to show you kind of how I set this up. On the left-hand side on your Facebook page, there's a section for groups, and at the bottom, all you need to do is just hit Create Group. That's all you got to do. All right? And so if I want to do something, I can type in Mr. Fisher's biology class. Okay? In order to create the group, you need to have at least one member. So I invited one of my friends, so that way I can kind of create up all the inside, the guts of it before I started inviting students in. I wanted to get the basics down first. In terms of privacy use, I selected a closed one so that students would have to actually ask for permission to join. It wasn't open because I didn't want every single person in the whole world to join the Facebook group. I wanted to be in control of who was going to be in the group. And we did the same thing over the summer. Our educational technology Facebook group was a closed group. Okay? So all you need to do is provide the students the link of the page. They go to it, they hit join group, and then you approve them or deny them access. Okay? So it kind of puts you in control of who's there. Alright? Okay? So that's how you go about it. Now, once you have it set up, it looks something like this. Okay? So I see the title of my group at the top. And it's simply just like your own personal Facebook page. You can do the exact same thing. And so the options that you have here at the top, and I'll go into more specifics later, you can post the status. Okay? So, hey, good job in class today. Tomorrow's homework is review 1, quiz to follow afterwards. You can add a photo. I take pictures of my kids. I post them on there. They love it. And we're going to see a few minutes later. You can ask a question. So, for example, what type of government system does the United States have? Question mark. And then I can add options. So I can say republic, democracy, anarchy, oligarchy. Okay? Now, when I post that question, all thing they see is they see a bunch of bubbles, which is going to look like this. Okay? So I can ask a question. Again, this is an extension of the classroom where I can follow up with information and I can make sure that they learn the content, or at least learn one specific thing. So here I post it, and all they do is they come to the question and they say, I think it's a republic. Boom. Okay? And eventually what you see is that it's like poll everywhere, where you can see the number of responses and percents and things like that. Okay? So that's something you can do with it. Another thing you can do is you can add files. All right? So you can add a file to a PowerPoint or a Word document or whatever you create. And I'm going to show you some of this stuff later. So those are the basics of it. The basics. Okay? All right. Now, I've been asked asked the question a lot about groups versus pages. Okay, and I had preferences for groups because I feel like I can have more control of it. A page, I think, is more beneficial for a business, a band, an organization, something that you're trying to kind of advertise. And when you see the difference between group and page is usually in a group you have to join it, in a page you like it. Okay? So the reason why I did not choose a page is because, again, I wanted to have control over who was inside my group. I only wanted parents and I wanted the students. That's it. Okay? Of the kids in that class. I didn't want everybody in the whole entire school to see what I was doing. I just wanted to have a focus of my kids and those parents. So using a group, again, kind of gave me more security and more say in who was going to be in the group. Okay? You might find something different. Okay? So maybe a page would be best for you. Right? You're going to have to decide that. Personal preference. Okay? Now, here's just some numbers that I had just put together yesterday, and the numbers have actually increased since yesterday. But this is what I have here. So in all my classes, I have 6 classes. I have 124 students. That's throughout the whole entire day. And you can see the numbers here. World history, 38 students, 7 parents. 37 students, 6 parents, 24 students, and 9 parents. Of those 124, 99 are on Facebook, so that's 80% of my students. 80% of my students that I'm reaching after school. Isn't that amazing? That's incredible to be able to connect with those 80% of your students outside the class. That's never been done possible before. But now we have the ability to reach these students on a whole nother level. Something that's never been done before. And I suggest that you try to take it into consideration, take it to your advantage. All right? Now, I did some follow-up numbers as well. And I posted 2 questions yesterday, just like the question that I had just created, the sample question. And I had wrote down, how well the Facebook groups helped you succeed in this classroom? So in terms of responsibility, by looking at the calendar, by downloading files. And these are the numbers that I got. Now, I think these numbers may be a little bit blown up because I was there in the classroom. I told them to be very honest with their answers. They're not going to hurt my feelings. Okay? So if they put never or hardly at all, I didn't care. I just wanted to be honest. But these are the numbers that they gave me. So 56% feel like the Facebook group really helped them. Half? That's pretty good, I'd say. Pretty good. All right? A little bit. 44%. Not bad. Okay? So you can kind of see the trend here. The students are kind of really liking this Facebook page. Whether they're going to tell you or not, they're on there, they're checking it, they're looking at it. All right? The second question that I had asked is, how often do you interact? So the last one was more of how long do you just look at it? Do you see the files? Do you see the calendars? Do you see the updates? The next one was, how well do you actually interact with it? So how often do you comment or like the pictures or like the status or like the page or whatever it is? And I got about the same types of response. 41% said that they frequently interact, so discuss back and forth or like the pictures or comment on the posts or things like that. 58% said sometimes. I take that. 58% say sometimes they interact. That's cool. I'm down with that. And I had 2 students who said never. So what? Oh well. Okay. They never do, but at least they're still getting those notifications. At least they're still being updated. All right. So those are just some of the numbers. All right. I felt like I should probably prove to how many students are actually using it before I go into stuff about it. All right. So now I want to show you the actual the success stories of Facebook. It's one thing for me to get up here and show you the Facebook group and talk about how good it is, but I actually need to prove that it's working. I need to prove that it's actually successful. Okay, and so these are some of the things that I've used Facebook and how I've seen successes of it. I'm also going to follow up with how I've struggled with it. Okay, the biggest thing with using the Facebook groups is that you're not friends with your students. So they're not seeing what I post on my personal page, and I'm not seeing what they post on their personal page. The only thing that you can see, which I can see can be an issue, is their pictures. And sometimes their pictures are a little wish-washy, okay? Especially with some of the words that are in their pictures, or whatever they're doing in their picture can be iffy, but I just, I kind of just throw it out the window and not really pay too much attention about it. All right. The same thing goes with pages, is that I think that you're also not friends. It's just kind of like you join the group, then there's no relationship whatsoever between the two. So the same thing. How many teachers have ever heard this? Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
Mr. Fisher, I lost assignment. Well, Charlie, you lost it yesterday and the day before that. So, if you have a Facebook group, what do you say?
You've got the assignment.
Go get it. So, what I do for every assignment that I have in class is that I post it. I'll show you here. So, let's say, for example, I'm in my world history class here. All right. Every time you post an assignment, it goes underneath here at the top here. We have about events, photos, and files. Okay. If you go to files, there are all the files that you have ever posted in a continuous order from when you first posted it to the newest one. So oldest to newest. And so if you say to them, I'm sorry, Charlie, you need to be more responsible. You have to go on the Facebook page and you have to print it off. I'm not going to do it for you. You go do it yourself. You lost it. I didn't lose it. So you go find it. So they go on here, they print it off, they type it up, they write on it, then they turn it in. And I've actually had quite a few students who did that. Okay, so something pretty sweet. And you can do that for PDFs, documents, pictures, pretty much every file is available for uploading. Okay. How about this one? Doesn't that just drive you nuts? I've been gone for a week, Mr. Fisher. Have we did anything? No. I've sat here on my butt for 5 days, and we haven't learned one single thing. Oh, just, you know. And one of my co-teachers is back here, and she just had the same situation. We had the FFA kids were gone for 4 days for a national convention. And some of them came back and asked, hey, did we do anything? Nope. Just hung out all day long. All right? So, and what I can do now is I can direct them to the Facebook, and I can say, hey, why don't you go to the Facebook page, and why don't you see the stuff that I've been posting? So I say, oh, look, yesterday we worked on the Presidential Pop-Up Project. That's what you're going to do. Please see the file to go get it. It's their responsibility. If they missed it, go find it. Go get it. Okay? Another thing. I post the status, I can upload a file right to it, it takes them right to it. Again, put more responsibility into the hands of the students. Another thing here. Today we did the homework packet, reading packet with questions on the back, so I already linked the file to it before. Okay? So instead of you taking 5 minutes out of your hour to explain to every student who was gone the 2 days or day before, now you can just reference them to the Facebook page, say go check it out. If you have any questions afterwards, then come and see me. This quote was brought to me from a coworker in the back, and it really didn't sink in for quite a while. History itself is not really, to some students, a very interesting topic. They're used to some old guy in front of the class with a projector blabbing about old people who have been dead or wars. That's a lot of students' idea or perception about history. And when she said this quote, you know, I thought about it and I said, yeah, that's true. But then I got to think more and more about it. How often do our students actually think about the topics we're covering in class outside of school? Mom and Dad asked little Johnny, hey, what did you do in school? Oh, I learned some history stuff about some people who died. Now he's interacting on the Facebook page, and he's learning, and he's answering questions about history outside of school. That's amazing. That is so sweet. It gives me the chills thinking about those students who might not necessarily be the best student in class, but you post something on Facebook and they tear it up. They go crazy because that's what they like. It's their social norm to interact on that Facebook page rather than talk in the class. Okay? So the ability then to talk outside of school about history, I think that's amazing. That's awesome. Okay? The other thing I'd already mentioned is file storage. So instead of having to keep your files on a Weebly website or a Google Sites website, everything's there. You don't have to reference them to another site. It's all on one site. Facebook, boom, it's all there. They don't have to type in something else. They don't have to click something else. It's there. And I've already shown you the files. Okay? One of the things that I'm probably most proud of that I never really saw happening was this idea of an online discussion board. That when I would post a follow-up question or when I would post some type of response, the amount of students who have interacted with that question is amazing. So what I've posted, and this is just an example here. Usually after each lesson, I post some type of question which is the extension of the lesson for the day. And I posted this one, or this lady had posted this on a review question. She said, okay, you can already see a problem here. What's the meaning of the test review about Julius Caesar and his territory that he gained? All right? And so I twisted the question around, and I wrote it in a different way, and eventually she understood. Now, what else do you see happening? Other students are helping out. So not only is that child learning, but the student who just helped out is also learning as well. So it's like it's killing two birds with one stone, I guess you could say. One student is getting help, the other student's helping out. And you know that student right there is learning the material. They just answered the question for them. Okay? And then you've got to kind of follow up with a good little positive thing. And then you have some students who do stuff like this. You just want to... Okay, but we'll talk about those kids later. Another one here. This is why I just wrote this last week. Again, we're talking about the Black Death. Okay, the kids seem to be interested about death and plagues and gore and stuff. So I posted this. What's the most fascinating thing about the Black Death? And I couldn't get the whole thing. But there's a ton of comments here. There's probably 17 comments where the kids are talking back and forth about the Black Death. And I haven't said anything yet. I get my phone, and I see that I have 17 notifications. I'm like, good Lord, what's going on here? So I click it, and they're all discussing the Black Death, what they think is the most interesting thing about the Black Death possible. Is that sweet? That is awesome. Okay? Next thing, which we're going to talk about next year. Is the debate, like I posted things that we're going to do outside classrooms, such as our class was going to watch the presidential debate. And so I said, who's pumped? Who's excited? And we have some students are looking at it. And look, you know the students who are too cool for Facebook or too cool for your classroom? They're all right here. They're seeing it, but they don't want to interact. They're thinking inside the head, yeah, I'm pumped. But I don't want to let anybody know. I'm a teenager. I'm too cool. You know what I'm saying? Okay? The thing that I am most proud of this Facebook group is the presidential debates that we've had, the last 3 that we've had. There has never been one activity, one lesson, one exercise that I can be most proud of compared to this. This, by far, took my teaching and the Facebook groups to a whole nother level. And so what we did, and I stole this idea from one of our assistant professors. His name's Craig McMichael, correct? Craig McMichael. And he said that he was tweeting with his students during the presidential debate, the first one, his AP U.S. history class. I'm like, dang it, why didn't I think of that? That's a great idea. You know, the teachers are stealers by habit. We just steal other people's ideas and make them ours and take it off and sometimes say that we made it up. I didn't make this up. And so I said, let's try this. I have all these kids on Facebook. They're sitting at home at 9 o'clock. They don't go to bed till about 4 o'clock in the morning. So let's try to have a presidential debate. So I asked them, I said, hey, I will take off an hour of community service, because I have to have 10 for government. I'll take an hour of community service off if you participate in the debate. So now there's an incentive attached. Okay? This is what I got. After the 3 debates, I kind of totaled up the amount of stuff that I've seen. Over 2,000 messages. The first debate, I had over 1,100 messages between students, back and forth. Now, guaranteed, a third of that might have been not related, just random comments. But I don't care. They're on there. They're watching the debate. They're seeing what their friends are saying. They're seeing what I'm typing. That's amazing. It's amazing. 3 to 5 parents involved. We had some parents, especially in the first debate, they started talking, the vice president's debate, they started talking about abortion towards the end. Briefly talked about abortion. And boy, these parents were getting involved. They were debating with the students.
everybody was telling their side of the story, and you could see that these kids, the passion, their opinions, their ideas were just flowing out of them. And we even know that because the next day we got into class, they were about to have a fist fight because they were so determined to defeat the other one in terms of debating. They wanted to debate. They wanted to continue to talk about that in class. The parents are getting involved, telling their side of the story, giving other insight than what we know as young students. Parents, they know a lot more than us. They're a lot wiser than us. And so they kind of gave us a flip side to a lot of these different arguments, a lot of these different ideas. Of all the debates, I would probably say there was probably about 10 or 15 students who are actively typing, actively debating. We had those sideliners. Remember those seen by 37 kids who were in the chat room, but they weren't talking. Why? They might not have something to say, or they felt being too cool or something. So I call it about 20 sideliners. You can see them at the top. It says 33 total members or something. All right? 3 teachers. Some of the teachers that heard about the success I was having with this online debate, they said, I'll join. So I got Mrs. Cook involved. I got Mr. Brown involved. I got Mrs. Hugo involved. So they didn't. Some of them might not have said much, at least they were there. And the students were conscious about them being there. All right? And eventually, as the success about this debate grew, students outside my class wanted to join the group and get in on the debate. Okay, a couple of really smart, intelligent kids said, hey, we want to get in the debate. Can we join the group? Sure. Absolutely, you can join. Okay? So this by far was amazing. All right? Another cool thing about the Facebook group is that students can upload their own assignments. And so, for example, here, this student could not post the link to the assignment on our school drive folder. And so I said, hey, just post it to the Facebook page. And so what she did is that she took the link, she posted it there, I looked at it, she got credit for it. Pretty cool. All right? And this is one of your students who is not necessarily your A go-getter student. She has a learning disability, but if you put her on Facebook, something where she's comfortable at doing, she's going to take off with it. And I think that's really amazing. All right. Another thing is that I'm really kind of sick and tired of dealing with flip cameras and handheld cameras and getting the cord out and attaching it to the computer and uploading it, and then maybe the file format doesn't work, and so I have to convert it to something else, and then I can finally post it to Facebook. So I said, kids, you're going to make a video today in 15 minutes, and your task is to post it to the Facebook page. I didn't have to do anything. My first 2 years, I was driving myself nuts with converting these files and then posting it so that everybody can see it. Now, the students are doing it themselves. So we're talking about this project, the relationship among states and government. And so they acted it out here. So all I did was went to the Facebook page, hit play, we watched it, we discussed it. So again, an extension of the classroom. All right. Another thing that's really cool, and before I talk about pictures and videos, is that in our student handbook, I think it's either when they apply to the school or maybe it's a yearly thing, they have to sign a waiver saying that it's okay for the parents sign, say it's okay for my child to be posted to any type of social network or media or something. So I have the right to do this, and I'm not just doing, I'm not breaking any laws. And so, for example here, as my students are doing skits or as they're doing their rap songs, I take pictures with my phone, snaps of pictures, and then I put it back on the Facebook page. And they go crazy to see themselves on their teacher's Facebook page. They're pumped. And so they're liking it, they're talking about it, they're debating whose was better than the other. Okay? Another thing we did here, and I stole this idea from educational technology, and this is what we did, speed dating. We did speed dating amendment style. So each kid had an amendment. And they had to introduce themselves as that amendment and try to, during this 30-second or 45-second speed dating. Now, don't be confused with this guy wearing a bra. It is Tropical Day during homecoming. All right? But afterwards, I posted these, and I wish I could blow this up. With the iPhone 5, the panorama sweep, so they all held up the number that they had. And their task for the day was that underneath where their picture was to tell the class what amendment they had. So I took the pictures, posted them, followed it up with a, hey, what amendment were you today? And which amendment would you date later? So which one was your favorite later? And 27, 28, 29, 30 responses to that. Okay, so again, mixing it up, trying something new, keeping it fresh. That's sweet. That's amazing. Okay? I think it's also important as us as teachers is to talk about things other than school. Sometimes we just drive school, lecture. Why don't we ever talk about anything besides school? Okay? So, to keep my kids interactive with the Facebook page, I just post silly questions. Alright? So, this is during our Fair Day weekend, and I said, what are your picks? Alright? And so I have a few you see that they already saw it, so at least they're seeing it. And we had a few kids that decided, who was going to win, who wasn't. Just something silly. Keep it new. Keep it fresh. Alright? Next, I said, what is the best thing at the fair I should check out? Now, keep in mind, we did have some suggestive comments, like, what should I check out at the fair? The women. Oh, that's going to get deleted. I'm sorry. Okay? So you do have to do a little bit of administrating. Tell some students, hey, man, you can't be saying that. Chill out a little bit. Okay? And so they told me some of the things that are at the fair that I should look at. Okay? And I've posted other silly things for them. For example, the Red Bull air jump from outer space. Anybody see that? And so a few of the students had actually streamed it from online, took a look at it, and we talked about it in class afterwards. Like, why the heck would anybody want to do that? Alright? Now, my goal was, yes, to reconnect myself with the students, to make them excited about history, to make them excited about government. I think I've been pretty successful. My next goal of my project was trying to get other teachers on board to do the exact same thing. And I've had some success. Alright? I have one teacher who I saw how much interaction that was happening on my page, because she's a member of my page, I want her to check it out. And she has created her own page. Alright? Now, she just created one. Alright? I had 3. She created one just to kind of see how it is, how it works. And now she wants to create another one. She wants to create one for Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3 classes. This one right here she has is a peer mentoring group. So these are our high school students who go down to the elementary and help them with reading and math and writing. And she posts teacher-like questions like, what has been your biggest motivational factor to help out students? Or what is the #1 characteristic needed in order to be a good teacher? And she has made it part of her grade for her students. Okay, because she has all the exception of one student. Another teacher here. This would be a page rather than a group. Alright? And you can see he's a 4th grade teacher who has 79 likes. Alright, so this idea of connecting with students outside the classroom is now beginning to influence the other teachers. And they'll now be able to see the success that I'm having that they could possibly have as well. Alright? However, there are struggles, and there are some situations that arise that I am still trying to deal with. Mein Kampf meaning my struggle. Okay. Hitler. I think it was eerie to put that on there or not. I didn't know how well it would be accepted, but let's just say it has nothing to do with Adolf Hitler. It's just my German coming out of me or something. Alright? There are some struggles. One of the things that I noticed with the Facebook group is organization. I would like it to be from oldest to newest all the way up. However, sometimes it's not like that. So if in the middle of the page someone likes that status, that automatically jumps up to the top. Now there is a way that you can sort your Facebook news feeds in terms from oldest to newest, but some students have it viewed as most popular, and so whatever is liked at that moment automatically jumps up to the top. Okay? So keeping things organized so students see, okay, Friday we did this, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Sometimes that can get a little bit of mixed up. One thing that you would notice in those statuses was grammar. And I really do not know how to approach this, because I want students to interact. I want them to feel like they are welcome to post whatever they want. However, some of their grammar and sentence structure is absolutely terrible. And if I were to tell little Johnny, hey man, your sentence structure on Facebook, it's really messy, could you kind of clean it up a little bit? I feel like if I were to tell him that, even if I was being as polite as possible, that might hinder him from even, liking the status or posting a one word.
I have a suggestion. Maybe occasionally you can say that if you're going to respond, to a question, that this time I would like grammar and spelling to be, rather than, this way you can just do it as over, you know what I mean?
Maybe that'll catch on for every post.
Yeah, to say, maybe this time I might grade it,
Well, that's another problem I run into there.
Yeah,
Great.
okay, I know, I understand.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just occasionally, just say, this time I would like it this way.
We have good grammar Mondays or something.
Yeah, good grammar.
Yeah, that's
Monday.
cool.
Right?
That's a good idea, thanks. Yeah.
Why is it important that their grammar be correct or that their spelling be correct? Isn't it more important that they're interacting with the content?
Well, yes, true, but I think as being a history teacher, my goal is also to create more well-rounded students, and I push grammar hard, and that's something that I push inside my classroom in terms of short answer responses. So if I do it on the homework, I feel I should also be able to do it on the Facebook as well. Okay, personal response. I would take one more, and we'll answer these afterwards. Yeah.
I would respectfully disagree with you. I think
Okay.
that you have to, and I teach technology, and so I think grammar is unbelievably important. But your goal was interaction, and you don't want
Sure.
to hurt that. But is another possible option to post that as a question? Okay, I'm kind of struggling with this. What I don't want to have happen is for anybody to not post because of grammar. What do you guys think?
Right. Good.
Oh, and can I just comment one more?
I'm going to take all this into consideration. Thank you.
For instance, when you're teaching elementary, we'll say the first grade, and you have the students just write journal, entries or whatever, and you don't care about spelling or grammar, you just want them to write. Well, what we found in research is that eventually you have to correct it because it becomes so innate in them that it's very difficult to undo, especially with spelling. So I think, I hate to say this, but occasionally you have to ask the students at this time when you post something that it be, pretty correct. And this way I think you'll feel better and they will too, that this is the way it should be.
And the whole other piece too is that if you have parents that are on there, there's a perception piece. It used to be that public schools were the option or whatever kind of school you are. But if now we're in the business of trying to draw people to us all the time, and you never know what is the thing that is going to tip somebody in another direction.
Yeah, if you have, if you're on Twitter right now, post those suggestions because
I am.
Yeah, I'll forget. Got about 8 billion.
I also just asked, on Twitter, I asked whether it was important or not.
Yeah, so if you would respond to that because I will forget. Okay. And the next thing is making it the grade, and I haven't made anything in terms of Facebook posts a grade simply for the fact that not all students have the Facebook. I could also do it in class and say, ask the same questions. Okay, if you don't have the Facebook group, answer this question. I just have a really hard time, and maybe if I do make it a grade, that would discourage the interaction. So something I'm trying to deal with. And overall, the big picture, yes, I'm trying to connect and interact and engage my students. That was my goal. But is it really increasing retention? Is it increasing responsibility or organization? I really don't have any data to prove that whatsoever. I would like to think that it is for the amount of kids who are actually on there, who are actually taking the learning to the next level. I would like to think so, but I can't prove that to you. So that's kind of a question. Is it really increasing any of these? Okay? And so overall, I guess through this presentation is I would like for some of you to maybe take these things into consideration, to use them, and to try to use them in your classroom as well. Does anybody use these types of things?
I have a page, but now I'm thinking of switching to a group.
Okay. So I want to kind of end up a little bit early here. We have 5 minutes. Is there any questions or comments of things of how I went about this, the process that you might have?
Do you know if you're able to identify who is not on your Facebook page?
Have I identified?
Yeah. Typically, what kind of students are you generalize?
Who is on it and who's not?
Who's not on it? So who of your students that you kind of need to reach out to, or if you think some segment of your learning?
The kids who are not on the Facebook page, I can't really classify them into a group of kids. Mostly the kids, there are a few, at least 3 or 4, whose parents do not allow students to have Facebook yet. There are at least 2 or 3 who have no type of internet connection at home, either via cell phone or internet or computer. So either it's a parent situation or it's no connection to the internet whatsoever. I have noticed, however, that my upper end or my upperclassmen, 11th graders, are way more active than my 9th graders. And I think a lot of that is a parent thing that I might not know of. Johnny, you don't need to be spending all this time on the computer, you need to be outside, whereas 11th graders might be a little more independent, have some more independence, and the parents are allowing them to do that, more trusting, I suppose.
Have you thought about what you're going to do next year? Like, are you going to start up full new groups again, and then you have to upload all the posts again?
Yeah, so how I went, and I kind of missed this out, I'm glad you brought this up. In order to get all my kids on there, I went through my roster, and I searched for their names in Facebook, and I had I typed up message to them, asking them to join the group with why we're doing it. So I went through my, all the kids, tried to find them, and then the kids who I didn't find, I asked them in class to do it. Now, next year, I don't know. I might have to do the exact same process over and over. My 9th graders will be the 10th graders, so maybe I could change the name of the group and just add in new students, delete the old students. I don't know. I'd probably have to go through the same system I went through.
Could you share, like, the link, like, email it out to your students and have them request to join instead of you individually going through each of them?
Right. A lot of our school really doesn't have, everybody doesn't have an email. So if I could go to a whole Gmail list and just send it out, filter who I want, it'd be awesome. It's something that we're getting to. Hopefully next year we'll have all our kids have a Gmail account, so that way it'll be a lot easier.
Because Jeff let me be a part of one of his groups, I think I've noticed that students are still joining, right? Like,
Yes,
it wasn't just that what they did at the beginning, but it's like people are now like joining even now, like into the semester and stuff, right? Is that true?
Right, yeah, I talk about it all the time, and I figured they would get the idea by now, but when I had them answer those questions, those 2 questions, I had them answer them in class, just so I could get the data and the research. And there was probably 6 or 7 who weren't added yet, so it's still growing, it's still continuing.
I wasn't quite sure if you said that if you were thinking that you would start over with a brand new page or continue the one you're doing, but I thought when I started thinking about that, the idea of continuing with the same one, so you have your former students in as well as the other students, kind of creates a whole other idea of networking and mentoring and that sort of thing. So that has some cool implications.
Love these ideas. good stuff, yeah.
Do you have any way of providing the students a way to post something as a reactionary thing? Like, for instance, using the debate, I doubt this happened, but say they were at a political rally, and they said, hey, I'm at a political rally right now, and I see the Democrats, or I see the Republicans, and they can then bring, because that's really the learning moment, right? It's not necessarily in your classroom.
Right.
At that.
I've had something.
I think you have some students do that, right?
I'm going to leave this comment real quick. We did have a student who he's kind of like my peer teacher. He's a high school student, works for the ISD. And so he did take the extension of the debate and found 2 YouTube videos and posted them for the kids. So that's something like that. I haven't had a lot of that, and I don't know how I would go about that to increase more of them posting stuff than me. I don't know.
What about like a Twitter feed where you had for your class, a certain hashtag, and then they can connect? Because I love this idea, and I would like to use it in some way, but also I want to capture the learning moments at the time that they're happening, because they're not always happening when I'm giving the instruction,
Yeah.
So how do you make the student who's been out of class for 3 hours but thinks of you, oh my God, you said this, and I know 5 people who would be interested. How do they make the connection then,
I mean, I don't know. Just posting random stuff, I don't know. A lot of times when we do talk about stuff in class, the most of the follow-up from the students' part, instead of just answering my question, most of it has been either pictures or videos. Some students have just posted quotes. We're talking about elections and how we can have all these elections, but nothing ever seems to get solved. And some kids posted a quote of a picture. We looked up the Black Death and we watched a video on YouTube. And before I could post that video on YouTube, the student had already posted it for me. So I think they're doing it. They're getting into it. I mean, we're 9 weeks in, and this is the stuff I already have. So I think as we continue to use it, it's just going to continue to grow.
And I sort of wonder, could you offer an opportunity for credit for that?
Right.
And then an alternative for those who can't do that. You know, you have to have some other choice, but, you know, sometime during this, kind of like your community service hours, only instead, sometime throughout, and I don't even know if it would work, you could just try one, sometime throughout this term.
Yeah, I thought about offering extra credit, but then I'm like, they're going to post and post and
Right.
post and post. Or maybe only say, all right,
Not
you have
extra
up
credit,
to
Right,
5 points you can earn for the
Right.
semester.
right.
That's sweet, yeah. Could try that. Thank you.
Having this Facebook group, does it increase students wanting to add you as a friend on your personal Facebook page?
So if I go to my friend, I mean, these are all students.
So you don't confirm them?
No, never. There are a few students who have graduated from my first year that I have added that I know on a personal basis, but I never add students at all.
So you made these groups for your personal Facebook page.
Yeah, and because I didn't want to have to log out, log back in, log out, and switch back and forth. Like I'm in charge of my school's Facebook page. I have to log into the school's email to see their website. So here's my page right here, all of my stuff. And then on the side is all my groups. So
Gotcha.
it's all right there.
Okay.
So I wanted to just reiterate the same thing. I said the same thing, that I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and a lot of my 12-year-old's friends have Facebook, and even though they're not supposed to really, you have to be 13, and I never friend students either, or kids, because I just do this for adult stuff. One of the questions I had, though, for you the other day was, you have 3 separate groups, and is it a lot of management? You know, do you spend a lot of time monitoring, moderating, managing? Like, how much, is it more than you thought, less than you thought?
No, I really don't get caught up in the management piece. I mean, I'm on Facebook a lot anyways,
Right.
with family and friends, and I've never, compared to my website, my Wheatley website, I got bored with it. There was no interaction. But now that students are interacting with it, I'm like excited. So I want.
And you're there anyway.
I'm there anyway, right? And I want to post, and I want to continue to get that interaction. So it never becomes a nuisance to me, or I'm never really overwhelmed. I am disappointed though when I forget to post something. I'm like, crap! I forgot to post the homework assignment from yesterday. Shoot! Okay. But you move on, I suppose. Anything else? Okay. Anything?
This
I hate
is
to-
really
I hate to leave
impressive.
the
It is
presentation.
It's really impressive.
So thank you for your time and thank you for your questions. If you want, if you want to post anything to that Twitter feed, or I left my contact information on that first slide, email or text, whatever you'd like to do. I would like to get some follow-up, so whatever you need. So thank you for being a great audience.